Our next stop is a few miles southwest, at a home where the architects have decided to work with the landscape in a completely different way. To get there, we're travelling deep into the Western Ghats, a beautiful mountainous region that straddles the west of India.
There are 160,000 square kilometres of rugged wilderness, packed with dense rainforests, lakes and rivers, with ancient forts clinging to the peaks and wild panthers still roaming the hills.
And we're curious to know how you make architecture that deals with surroundings as epic as this. Here's I think this is ours.
The House of Three Streams has been very much shaped by the landscape. The result is a fluid, enigmatic house that almost tiptoes down the hillside through a series of origami-like roofed verandas and open spaces.
It takes its name from the waterways that flow around and even through the house during the heavy monsoon rains. Because this is architecture that's all about letting nature do the talking. My first impressions of this home are that it's so delicately placed. The house isn't interfering with the beauty of the landscape.
There's also real ambiguity in terms of how you get in. I mean, there's no obvious front door. You can just slide into the building from wherever you want.
There's hardly a house here at all, really, Piers. Is there?
Just shade.
A roof and a floor. There are more than 1,000 square metres of house that's not a house here, all flowing out from a fort-style wall and tower, which forms the spine of the building. It's an incredibly steep site, framed by seasonal waterways. The house is a series of asymmetrical zinc-roofed verandas scattered down the hillside, providing outdoor and indoor dining spaces, a kitchen, living space and viewing platform. Ensuite bedrooms are tucked out of sight, placed on top of each other to allow uninterrupted views. At the lowest level, a swimming pool forms the roof of 2 more bedrooms. Suddenly, we're underneath a really exciting space. I think this is thrilling and I didn't expect it. I didn't expect it to have all these wonderful crisscross of beams and on just that metal on top.
But actually, in this landscape and in this context, what you need above all else is shade from the sun, shade from or shelter from the rain, and you need as big a roof as possible, and actually not much else.
I like the idea of, Piers, is being up here during the monsoon and hearing the rain thundering on this metal roof and being inside this space with the glass looking outside. I mean, it must be virtually impossible to see, your hand in front of your face when the monsoons come here.
Here we are now, when there isn't a monsoon, but we're equally immersed in nature. The experience here is identical in many ways just to being under the trees outside. In fact, trees inspired one of the key pieces of design. These unusual beam structures unlock the underlying philosophy of the architecture. So instead of there being regular repetitive columns, there's this beautifully complex series of trusses that come down to the ground as trees, pulling back all the structure from the edge. And what it means is that the house provides uninterrupted panoramic views of the landscape from wherever you look. The wilderness has also been embraced by the architects to shape every aspect of their approach. This house is all about landscape, in plan and in section. The site is a steeply sloping site that steps down the hill. And what these architects have done is then to look at the contours and work out where the hollows are, and then where on the flat pieces they can either place pieces of building or bridges to get across from one building to another. Once the architects had identified the flat pieces of land, they then decided what part of the house they would become. And with such a steep site dictating where they could build, the house ended up being split across 6 levels. And it's the experience of stepping down through the site, through the natural trees and through the man-made trees, that makes the experience of this house so exciting.
That immersive feeling of living amongst the trees even follows you indoors. There's a suite here with an ensuite bathroom. If you listen very carefully, you can hear all the birds. I imagine in here is, there's a bathroom here, and it's a good one. This stone that is used throughout the house is used in here, and it's called kota, and it's from southern India, and it is so beautiful. It's a soft, slaty green, and it gives everywhere you go a sort of feeling of being underwater. And here in the shower room, you can open up these shutters and be showering with the birds in the trees. What's incredible is that I've been into lots and lots of bathrooms in my life, but I realise this is one of the all-time great bathrooms.
There is a real sense of the architecture being in an intimate relationship with its natural environment. Owner and architect Kamal Malik is going to take me through its story. Why did you build a house in this region?
I was born and brought up and did my entire schooling in the Himalayas, and they are mountains. And here was an opportunity close to Mumbai, and you can get into the hills, and you have a kind of setting in a way that I spent my childhood in. And we had these wonderful streams, 3 of them, that flowed through the site. And we saw it during the monsoon, and it was quite amazing. The other thing which happened here was the inspiration of the tree. So you see the trunk and you see the branches. And if you look back, you will see the actual support of the roof is an echo of an understanding of that.
Curiously, that was my first impression, was coming in and actually feeling like I was under a tree. So you never have that sense of there being something between you and landscape.
So in the tropics, you would spend most of your time in the veranda, because this is where you experience the breeze, you experience nature, and you even enjoy the rain and so on and so forth sitting in these. I think it's only to sleep that you're going to go inside a room. Every room has been designed basically for both natural ventilation, the ability to look out, be in union with nature, and be able to see.
This house was a family affair, and Kamal worked closely with his son, fellow architect Arjun. The views from here, Arjun, are second to none. They're extraordinarily beautiful, aren't they? Mm-hmm. Because, of course, you have designed and built this house with your father. Mm-hmm. And I have to ask you, what's it like working with your dad?
The process has been wonderful and rewarding. It has had its impacts in this house. For example, my parents don't enjoy being in the water, so therefore we separated the veranda spaces where he and his friends could be in a particular place. My family and our friends could be closer to the pool and have our own kind of privacy and space and yet be connected. Everyone has their own favorite place, and that's the whole point. It's choice, it's openness.
When you spend time here, what do you end up doing?
Pretty much nothing.
Really?
Yeah. Swimming, talking, listening to music.
And what a pool. I mean, it's an extraordinarily beautiful thing in and of itself. So why did you decide to raise the pool up, sort of into the view almost?
When it gets really warm, all the water sources dry up, and the rats and frogs start to gravitate to any potential water source, and the snakes follow. That's not particularly safe. To avoid that, we lifted up the pool to restrict access. It's got the sense of infinity. You're swimming in the tree line with the mountains in the horizon.
Your father's an architect. You are an architect. At any point, did it cross your mind to become a Bollywood star? Because you're so stupidly handsome.
No, it didn't. It actually didn't, but thank you. That's very
You're
flattering.
welcome. I think you missed an opportunity. Bollywood's loss is definitely architecture's gain. The whole place is beautiful.